Hello, my name is Jake. I am a hypnotist and a level 2 QHHT practitioner. QHHT, or quantum healing hypnosis technique, can help with a lot of different issues and goals. One of the most powerful things that it can help with is healing of past life trauma. So I wanted to share an example today from a session that I had that will really illustrate what I mean here. So we'll call this client Liz. Liz came in for a session, and like many people, she didn't have a conscious awareness of this past life trauma. She was curious about past lives and was interested to see what would come up. She'd been referred to me by a friend. So, jumping into what happened in the session, after a few different scenes and a couple of different lifetimes, Liz found herself in a bedroom. She was describing to me what she saw as an old city. She described herself as a young boy, a young pampered boy, in her words, of about 12 or 13. She said that he had servants, which explained the pampered bit. He was dressed in a Greek style kind of flowing robe. I was picturing kind of like a toga. And he said that his robe was very clean. So at this point, the boy went outside to play with his friends. We saw a fountain in a courtyard, and we saw his group of friends out there whom he joined. One of these friends was a girl, and a bit shyly, he said that he liked her. He admitted that to me, and that all of the boys in their group of friends liked her. A little bit later, she gave him some yellow wildflowers, and he was quite pleased with that. At this point, after getting those flowers from the girl, Liz got quiet, and this isn't unusual in a session. So I asked another question to see what was going on, what she was seeing, and suddenly the boy said that the girl wasn't there anymore, that no one was there anymore. At first, I thought that he had maybe jumped into another lifetime, as had happened earlier in the session. Sometimes people jump around a little bit, but Liz clarified that no, she was still that boy, that same boy. And he was standing there holding the flowers, but was alone. And I asked where he was, responded that he didn't know, and he sounded really confused. Next, he said, "It's like everything disappeared. It's as if everybody was dead. I don't know what happened. Everything is white, so quiet that it's scary." At this point, I knew that something had happened. Confusion in moments is pretty common, and I also didn't know exactly what was going on. So I proceeded to ask some questions, try to get some more information. As the boy continued to talk to me, he got quieter and started to sound a little panicky, a little more scared than just confused. He was clearly disoriented, and really that fear was creeping in. Now, my number one priority in a session is the client's well-being. Um, you know, Even though we explore traumatic events, it's really important that the client knows that they're safe, that they don't experience undue stress or negative emotions. After a moment of reassuring the boy, I resumed my questioning, trying to figure out what was going on, trying to get the information. The boy said that it seemed as if a tragedy had happened, which I had kind of put those pieces together, but what he said was that he was observing it, wasn't sure if he was dead too, or if he was a part of it or not. Now, he told me that it looked like the city was burned. He saw ashes everywhere. He was really relieved not to be there, like big sighs, like, "Oh, I'm glad that I'm not there. I'm glad that I'm just watching." He said that he was viewing this scene as an observer rather than a direct participant. And this is oftentimes how people do view these traumatic events, because it can be hard to, as you can imagine, relive it from like the first person perspective. So But he reiterated, though, that he knew that he was there. At this point, I had come to the realization that he was on the spirit side, that he had died, that and had died suddenly. Um, but I try to not make assumptions. I also, try to keep things open ended and um, really give the client time to explore and to figure out what's going on and why we're there, because there always is a reason. So at this point, he still seemed confused, and we hadn't really gotten to the root of this trauma or what was going on. In a session, the higher self of the client, some people call this part of you your subconscious or superconscious. This is the part that's in control. And so they always bring forth the most appropriate thing for the client, the most impactful thing for them to see. And it's really important that we figure out why we're there, get as much information as we can before moving on. The boy echoed my own thoughts, saying that he wanted to observe now, be able to find the answers. He had, like a resolve in his voice. After he said this, he was shown again the scene right before the tragedy. We saw the group of kids playing and saw again the girl with the flowers. At this point, though, it kind of took a surprising turn. I wasn't expecting this. What he said next was, "She is a bad girl. She tricked us." And there was like a venom in his voice. Like he seemed, really like angry. He said, "She is the one who created it all." And at this point, I was a little confused. Like I said, it seemed like the boy was blaming the girl for what had happened, which really did seem misplaced to me. So I asked, "How do you know that? Why do you think that she is at fault?" He said that he was seeing the tragedy happen again, and that the girl was there too, and that she was just standing and watching it happen. He said that she didn't do anything to help. At that point, I reminded him that he was also observing. And I asked him if, do you think that maybe she's observing just like you? With surprise and quite a bit of relief, again, like deep sighs of relief, he said yes. He realized that not only was she there, but that the other kids were there as well, that the rest of the group was there. Let me play next a short little clip of the audio to show you really the moment that the boy realized what was happening, and not only why he was there, but really why the rest of the group was there.
You know what? We are observing that we are more and more observing what happened. We are trying to understand. You know what? No one understands what happened. None of us. We are all kids.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to understand,
Mm-hmm.
We are looking for answers. All of us. We are back because we want answers.
Mm-hmm.
Give us answers. Nobody wanna give us answers. That's mean.
So you can hear the frustration in his voice that no one is there to give them answers. I think you can also tell how absorbed in the personality that Liz was. This is, not always the case. People experience hypnosis differently, but this type of experience is called somnambulistic, or this type of client is called a somnambulistic, because they're completely absorbed in that personality. Now, at this point, I reminded him that he had the answers from this perspective, that he could see the truth of what happened if he wanted to. He admitted that he was scared, but that he did want it, that he wanted to find the truth. And encouraged, he continued. And at this point, his voice dropped to a whisper, and he admitted to me that he thought he was the one to blame. He said that he was scared someone was going to find out that he was at fault. So just like when he placed the blame on the girl who was also there, I asked him how he knew that. What made him think that it was his fault? He was beginning to get emotional at this point, and starting to cry. He responded that he didn't know why he was at fault, but that he thought it was an accident. And as he continued to cry and the emotions really started to build up and well up, it was clear that he had a lot of misplaced blame and a lot of guilt that he felt, for something that really wasn't his fault, right? Uh, he was a child. They were all children. And there's no logical way that this would have been his fault, that he would have caused this. But in the confusion and the chaos of the event of this traumatic death, he had taken the blame onto himself, as children often do in traumatic events. I think of like divorce that happens when kids are young. Sometimes, even unconsciously, they'll take that blame onto themselves because they don't necessarily have the perspective or the understanding to see that it's not their fault. Now, continuing on with the story, the boy at this point was becoming really overwhelmed emotionally, and he was sobbing. It was quite traumatic for him, and between choking out words, it was getting hard to understand what he was saying because he was so emotional. And I took a few minutes to help calm him down, help reassure him that he was safe, and that he could continue to talk to me, reminding him that he could observe this from that observer, removed perspective if he wanted to. Once I got him to calm down enough that I could understand him again, he kept saying to me that he didn't mean to, that he was just a child and he didn't mean to. Let me share the moment just a little bit after this, when he realized the truth, when he realized what had actually happened.
I'm observing what happened there. I was a child and I was born.
Mm-hmm.
We're little kids. I don't know why, but that's what happened.
So I believe that there was a volcanic eruption based on the comments about the ash and how suddenly it all happened. It could have been a fire. They talked about, the boy talked about everything being burned up. I would have assumed, though, that this would have happened a little slower than a volcanic eruption. But, I suppose that is a possibility as well. Unfortunately, I did not. We didn't find that direct answer about what the tragedy was, what the disaster was. The important part of this experience, though, for Liz, was clearly finding out and figuring out that she wasn't at fault here, that guilt that she was carrying wasn't necessary. Ultimately, though, I was really interested in finding out what her higher self had to say. And when I asked to speak to Liz's subconscious, I asked them, why did you show this lifetime? Why did you share this experience? And what did Liz need to understand from it or learn from it? So I'll play a short bit here where they explain the purpose for showing her the experiences that they chose.
But she's carrying it. She feels the guilt. And she doesn't know why. She feels so guilty all the time. She doesn't have to. It's not her role now. She needs to be healed in this life of that suffering guilt part.
So Liz's higher self went on after that to share that she was seeking out suffering in this lifetime based on the past lives that she had lived, and the suffering, both real and misplaced, that she had caused in her past lives. I mentioned that there were other lifetimes that we experienced in this session. I couldn't share all of them, obviously, but there was some real suffering that she caused. This was a particular experienced a particular lifetime where the guilt was misplaced. Anyway, through revisiting and finding understanding of these past life experiences, and through the explanation given by the subconscious, Liz was able to find healing and be reminded of her purpose in this lifetime. This is so often why people seek out QHHT or past life regression. They're looking for answers as to why they're here, what their purpose is. And as Liz found out, she was unconsciously going in the wrong directions. She was making her current life harder than it really needed to be because of unconscious cords linking her to her past lives, to these other experiences that her soul has had. And through understanding, she was really able to disconnect these unneeded ties and then move forward in this lifetime with renewed purpose and really feeling much lighter than she came in feeling. All right. Well, I really enjoyed sharing this story, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. It really is such an honor to do this work and to be able to help people in this way. It's such a powerful thing to be able to witness the healing that can take place through understanding and integrating trauma from past lives. Now, if you're interested in booking a session with me, please feel free to visit my website for more information on my practice and on QHHT. I look forward to sharing more session stories and QHHT content with you soon. Until next time, love and light to you all.